Hi, Alexander.
Hey,
So great to see you again.
hey, you too.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I am very excited personally and for my community to learn about you and learn from you, especially.
Oh, that's so good to hear. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, you were and still are way ahead of the times. You started a happiness at work company over 19 years ago, nearly 2 decades ago.
Yep.
And now the world of well-being at work is exploding, over the last few years. Tell me about this foresight. You were like looking into this crystal ball of what was needed. How did you know 2 decades ago that happiness at work was so desperately needed?
Well, I think I had two things going for me, and one of them was that I'm Danish. And in Denmark, this is just part of the conversation. Being happy at work is perfectly normal. It's expected. It's something people want. As a Dane, when you have a job, you fully expect to be happy at work. Not like ridiculously happy every day. We Danes don't go in for that kind of thing. But like you want a job you can actually enjoy. And that's been the case for at least, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 years in Denmark. So here it's perfectly normal, nothing radical. It's just the way things are. And then I think the other thing I had that helped me a lot was trying a job that sucked. And just my personal realization that, wait a minute, this is not the way things are supposed to be. There's got to be a better way to run our workplaces that don't actually, dehumanize people or wear them out or make them stressed or make them burn out. Yeah, so those two things taken together gave me this idea of coming. I came out of the tech industry. I wanted to do something else, and I came up with this idea. And I can remember the exact moment I got the idea. I'm like, I'm gonna make people happy at work. Yeah, and then I was like, I'll do it. And here we are, almost 20 years later.
Amazing. And so when you had that idea, you were you thinking of exporting the Danish way? Was that really because you knew the high level of, like you said, it was normal there that, and you were thinking, I can bring this to other cultures, to other companies.
Yeah, well, this is so interesting because when I started this, I had no international ambitions.
Oh,
I had,
interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I had no expectation that there would be any interest in this, beyond the Danish borders. But it happened very, very quickly. I think it's just a year after I started doing this that I was invited to speak in India and the US and increasingly around the world.
Mhm.
But I will say this: there was a huge difference, right? In Denmark, you can say happiness at work, or as we say in Danish, arbejdsglæde. This Danish word
I
for it.
always butcher it. I say that word all the time. It never sounds that good.
I think you have to be born Danish to get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and people just get it. Whereas in the rest of the world, it's still a weird concept, and you have to take a lot more care to introduce it correctly and explain what it is. But I'd also say this: no matter where in the world I've gone, and I've spoken about this in 50 countries now, uh, people love it. Or I should say, some people love it. A lot of people are like really intrigued by the idea and think this is amazing.
Mhm.
Of course, that's the way things should be. It's just that to a lot of people, it's a new idea, and they
Yes.
have. Yeah, I spoke in South Africa at a bank there, and a lady said after my talk that, oh my God, she had never realized that it was possible for her to have a job she actually liked.
It's incredible, right? How many people around the world do not think happiness and working coexist? Yeah.
Exactly. That's the very first barrier we have to overcome is
Yeah.
making people aware that this is even possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. So we could probably do 5 hours on the next question. So I would say just give a couple. So 40 or 50 years in Denmark, this is normal, it's expected, it's a way of life. And obviously, the research shows that, Danes are just a lot happier while they're working. So, for people in North America listening, what are two strategies or two tactics that contribute to this? Like I said, you could, there's both, you could talk for hours and hours. So I would
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
say
yeah.
what are two? Because I think people listening are like, all right,
Sure.
how are the Danish leaders creating this culture, this happy culture?
There are just two very tangible ones are first of working hours. And working hours in Denmark are highly regulated. There are a lot of, Danish workers have a lot of rights in general. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
The Danish working hours are the second lowest in the OECD among
Right.
all
It's like
20.
37. Is that right? 37.
30 is 37 hours is the week is the official work week. Then we also have more holidays. We have more like vacation times than a lot of other countries.
Yep.
So the average Dane works on average 1,300 and something hours a year. For
Mm-hmm.
the average American, it's 1,700 something hours.
Mm.
And the top scores are the Mexicans with 2,200 hours a year. It's completely insane.
Yeah.
So this idea that, by the way, and I should say that Danes work fewer hours, but we're not lazy. We're actually the most productive workers per
Super high
working hour in the world.
productivity. Yes.
Exactly. So that's one issue is that we are not being worked to death.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so weird, right? When you don't work people to death, they're actually happier at work.
Right. They actually are getting
Strange.
sleep, time with their family.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Also, and of course, on top of that, we have like paternity leave, maternity leave, parental leave. You get a year that you can split between the parents, that kind of thing.
Right.
So that is absolutely one area where Danish workplaces excel. They don't
Mm-hmm.
work their employees to death. And
Mm-hmm.
and just to mention one other is that Danish employees are constantly empowered and included in decisions. There's this fascinating research in different cultures by Geert Hofstede, the Dutch social psychologist, and he found that the Danes are the least accepting of hierarchy of any culture in the world. So
Mm.
you will see Danish bosses will
Flat organization, right? It's not
totally
like,
flat, yeah, and you will almost never see a Danish boss give an order. That would be almost unheard of. Employees are constantly, asked for their advice, asked for their opinion. They're included in decisions. This is even formalized again in Danish employment law, so that the employees of bigger workplaces actually have seats on the board that are elected by their coworkers, by the employees. So they have actual decision power in how the organization is run. So those will be two things that are, they exist in many
very
countries,
different.
but they're especially prevalent in Denmark.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you for sharing both of those. Um, so this is, I told you before we hit record that I want to know this selfishly and I want to spend a little time here. Obviously, so much has changed. The world of work has changed, and there's a lot of fabulous silver linings because of this for the world of
Hmm.
work. The conversation around well-being and really taking care of the whole person, all of these conversations I was sharing, that Deloitte has a chief well-being officer. What do you believe that leaders, managers, people running organizations now need to be focusing on, need to be prioritizing with the state of the world today?
I think there has been a movement building. This has been coming for a long time, and I think we see it clearer now than ever before. And I think this is going to force a lot of companies and a lot of managers to actually take happiness seriously, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
It's a confluence of several different things. As COVID obviously forced companies to try new ways of working, and what do you know? Some of those ways actually work really well, like giving people freedom to work from home if that's what works best for them. There's the uptick in the economy in many countries right now. The unemployment rate in Denmark right now is 1.8%. It's essentially impossible to get new employees, which again gives the employees unprecedented power. And then the third thing that is super interesting is the anti-work movement. Have you heard about that, Tia?
Yes, yes. Well, yeah, I've just heard from different leaders and people leaving for different reasons and wanting to do things for personal reasons and
Hmm.
just reevaluating their values and how they want to spend their time and live their life. But yeah, tell
Yeah.
me more about the anti-work movement
So
from your research and knowledge.
yeah, so there it has two prongs here. One is the Great Resignation, and given that it's now easier to find a job than it's been for a long time, a lot of people are
Mhm.
taking that opportunity if they don't like their current job to find something better. But there's also the actual anti-work movement, which started out as a subforum on Reddit, which is incredibly popular, and they are questioning the very foundations of work itself, and sharing all of these stories of being horribly mistreated by managers or being overworked or being ignored or being fired for no reason. And there is a huge sense among millennials and younger workers that something is very screwed up in the world of work, and we're not going to take it, as Twisted Sister once saying. So there is a generation that's already in workplaces now, and some younger generations also coming into the workplaces that you cannot mistreat, like some companies have been doing.
Yeah.
And if you try, they're gonna quit on you. They're not gonna stand for that kind of thing. And
Mhm.
I think that's phenomenal.
Mhm.
There's a lot of anger in the anti-work movement, and I think a lot of that anger is perfectly warranted. Um, I will say that the anti-work movement is it's very American, very U.S. focused, very U.S. based, um, and American workplaces definitely need to sit up and pay attention, or this will hit them in the ass before they realize it.
Yes, yes. So I often say, and tell me if you agree, that most people do not wake up in the morning and think, okay, I mean, I'm sure there's a small percentage, but most people do not wake up in the morning and think, I'm going to be a complete jerk. I'm going to make everyone feel horrible. I am going to stress people out, burn them out, treat them like garbage, and, run over them. Like, I think people wake up in the morning, I need to, grow my business. I need to drive results. I need to, and yet they show up and they're doing these type of things. They are burning people out. They're not treating people with care and kindness and respect and all of that. So how come you think this? And in the US it shows 2/3 of leaders are disengaged,
Mm.
13% actively disengaged, so they're not even, majority 60, aren't engaged themselves. So um what do you think these people need to know? Because like I said, I don't think they wake up and they think I'm going to be the biggest jerk ever, yet they're
No.
not making people feel really happy. So what's this missing information?
Well, first of all, I agree completely. I mean, most people are not doing this on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right that what happens for a lot of these people is that they're so results focused. Uh, you know, is our quality growth where it needs to be? Where is the stock price? Is it going up or down? Are we hitting our sales targets? Are we reaching our quality goals? That kind of thing. And here's the thing, in the pursuit of those results, of those metrics, they end up doing all the wrong things. They end up overworking their employees, they end up mistreating them, they end up disrespecting them, and in general treating them badly, which ironically hurts results even further. And
Mm-hmm.
then what happens for a lot of these people is that they double down on their behavior, and they make things even worse. A huge explanation for why is, of course, that this is just the way business has been done for a long, long time. It's also what you will learn in business school. You know, if you go to take a business degree, an MBA somewhere, they won't tell you about happiness at work. They won't tell you to, treat your staff well. They will tell you to focus on strategies and your business plan and your profit margins and that kind of thing. Um, so so here's what they need to know. Building a successful business and making your employees happy that's not an either or proposition. That's a both and proposition. And the research is very, very clear on this, that happy companies make more money, for any number of reasons, including the fact that happy employees are more productive, they're more creative and innovative, they will stay with the company longer, they deliver better customer service, so the customers are happier and the customers come back. If you have a happy business, it's easier to attract employees. If you're If all of your, if your employees love their jobs, they will be out there telling their friends and family, you should come work for us. This place is amazing.
Mhm.
If your employees hate their jobs, they will be out there telling their friends and family, stay far away, and they will also be voicing their opinions on Glassdoor.
Mhm.
You can't hide it these days.
Right.
And given that there is a huge increase in the number of people who are just not going to stand for that kind of treatment anymore, you have no choice. You are going to need to take this seriously. And again, I just want to say this: this is not a cost to your business.
Yeah.
This is actually going to make you more money if you do it right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I agree, and am thankful for your passion behind your words. I believe, and I don't, you could tell me about the difference in Denmark, but I believe in North America and definitely in the United States, there is this phenomenon that happens, and I will say I even get caught in it sometimes. And the phenomenon is the success trap
Hmm.
of wanting more success. And what is success? Financial success, accolades, business success, title, all of it, right? And even though we know success is more than just, but this work success, and whether it's because of the, I don't know, Elon Musk's and Mark Zuckerberg's in our world, or who knows, that it's like you want more, you want bigger, you want grander, you want, and what you sacrifice is then time, right? You work more because I think a lot of people, even if the leader isn't saying, put in 70 hours,
Hmm.
people themselves also, they believe more success equals more fulfillment, more satisfaction, contentment, happiness.
Yeah.
So can you give your thoughts on the success trap?
I most definitely can. And there are two aspects to this. First of all, what is your definition of success, right?
Yeah.
How do you define that? Is it the Mercedes, or a Mercedes or two in the driveway and a huge house and a big fat bank account? Is that it, or is there something else? And I would actually agree that those things are very tempting because they're very
Mm-hmm.
visible, it's very measurable. It's like Instagram likes, you can see how many there are, and anything that's measurable, you just want more.
That's a good point. It's measurable. You can see it.
It's hugely alluring. It really draws people in. But the thing is that once you're comfortable, the research is very clear on this. Once you're comfortable economically, making more money does not make you any happier.
Yeah.
So then you got to ask yourself, so what do I really want? Once I've reached that economic level, what is a good life for me? And I would argue that a good life is a happy life. It's a life where you and the people you care about feel good and enjoy their lives. Oh, and by the way, the best study on that is probably the Grant longitudinal study, where
Yes.
they follow these Harvard graduates. Harvard, I think Harvard,
Yep.
yeah, for 200 people for something 70 something years. It's completely bonkers, and they found that the number one success factor in life that gave people a good life was love,
Mhm.
having love in their lives. And by the way, they found that the people who were happy were more likely to become successful,
Right.
whereas the people who are successful but not happy did not become happy from being successful.
Right.
So that's one aspect. And then the other aspect is even if you are changing that career success, will working 70-hour work weeks get you there? And the research is very, very clear. It won't. People who permanently overwork, and this is defined as anything that's over 50 hours a week, actually perform worse than people who just work a regular 40-hour work week. Also, they're more likely to have heart attacks and strokes,
Yes.
significantly more likely, by the way. So overwork is bad. It's bad for you. It's actually bad for your performance. It's bad for the workplace. I realize that there are some workplaces where a 60-hour work week is the price of admission,
Yeah.
but that's
I'm
dumb.
thinking
That's
lawyers and tech companies there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredibly dumb. It's so stupid. It's bad for the employees. It's bad for performance. It's bad for the bottom line. You are hurting yourself and your organization if you make your people work like that.
Hmm.
Stop doing it. It's just not. It's dumb. It's idiotic.
Yeah.
I have a whole I did a 1.5 hour video on why overwork sucks, and I do appreciate the irony.
overworking on your video. That's okay. It's
Exactly.
90 minutes. It's not a 70 hours. So that's okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of people ask me, and I'm sure they ask you, and when I was in Denmark with you, we talked a lot about this as well, about the measurement of happiness at work.
Yes.
How do you
Yes.
measure it? It seems so vague. How do you, and I know we know it's not. So talk to me about the measurement of happiness at work, how companies can do it, why they need to do it, and please talk about your company heart count.
Yes. First of all, I can tell you how not to do it. And that's the usual annual job satisfaction survey. Because
Yes.
those suck.
Yes. I say it all
I
the time. I say, don't even do it. It's pointless.
it is sometimes actually worse than pointless. So you send out one once a year. People hate them because they have too many questions. They have too many relevant questions. Take forever to fill out. Even if you do fill it out, what happens? Essentially nothing, because you wait a few months, then your team gets the results, and maybe then you have to have a meeting and follow up on the results, and nothing happens. So it creates, whenever you ask people about their opinion, you create the expectation that their opinion will be listened to and something will happen. And very often with the usual job satisfaction surveys, that does not happen. And that actually makes things worse. Like, the company asked my opinion, I gave them my opinion, and they did nothing. They obviously don't give a damn about me. And that's why I say that sometimes they can even be worse than usual. They also take a lot of time, and they're very expensive. So basically a waste of time.
Yeah.
So and the problem is also that they're once a year. So if I have a problem now as an employee, and the survey is in 6 months, and the results we get 3 months after that, by that time it's too late. Either the problem's been fixed, or it's been bugging me for too long and I quit. So I thought about this for a long, long time. I was like, there's got to be a better way to do it. And I was like, what if we do the exact opposite? Instead of asking a bunch of questions once a year, what if we ask just a few questions once a week? I came up with the idea in 2013. We alpha tested it in 2014, and we finally launched the real version of it 2 years ago. It's called Heart Count. Do you want to hear where the name comes from? Because I'm pretty proud of it. I came up with the name.
Yes, I think I remember, but I want all the listeners to hear.
Okay. So every organization knows their head count, right? How many people are in your organizations? And that term comes from cattle.
Really?
Cows. As a cattle rancher, your head count is how many heads of cattle do you own. That's your head count. And I've always found that was a little dehumanizing to be using
A
about
little
my
bit.
employees.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
little.
Yeah. So I came up with the idea of heart count. And basically the way we put it is that your head count is how many people are in your organization, and your heart count is how many of them actually want to be there. And the way this works, it's super simple. Every Friday morning, everybody in the organization gets an email with 3 questions. So not 100, not 20, 3 questions. And you can reply to the questions directly in the email. Like click, 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 submit, boom, you're done. 20 seconds, and that's over with. The 3 questions change. The first question is always the same. How did you feel at work this week? And then the other 2 questions change, and they cover a range of topics that we know are directly related to happiness at work. So every single question is relevant and important and has an influence. And then the cool thing is that then you can see the replies for your team. You can actually see them the next Monday morning. They will be available to your team. So you get an instant feedback on the data. And also, if management spots any problems, they can act on it right away, instead of in 9 months when we
Right,
have
be
the finished report.
proactive.
Yeah, exactly. So it's being used now with organizations in all kinds of industries, and people love it. I talked to an HR manager from a tech company in Poland. I was like, this has been a lifesaver, because it allowed her to basically know how everybody in the organization was doing at any given time. So I'm very proud of it. It works really well. Customers love it, and employees love it. And I think
Yeah,
one of
I was
the
going to ask about, do people ever say, or do you ever get feedback that, oh, every Friday is too much? Or maybe it's no, because you said it was 20 seconds.
that's the thing. But even that time investment from employees has to be justified.
Mm,
And the way an organization justifies it is by taking the replies seriously.
right.
And another cool feature of HeartCount is that the answers are actually not completely anonymous. There are a couple of designated people inside the organization that can actually see individual replies. So if there is an employee somewhere who has a problem, somebody can actually react. They can go to that person and say, "Hey, I noticed that you answered. You gave this answer. That's a problem.
How are
We
you
don't
doing? Or
how
what do you need?
exactly. How do we fix this?" And that
Interesting.
part employees love because that at that time their problems are being taken seriously, they're being addressed, and they're being fixed, and that's incredibly that shows the company cares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this you, I'm thinking, and I'm not an expert on all the different tools out there. I know some of them, but is this unique to HeartCount? Are a lot of the other ones all anonymous?
As I don't, there are a lot of those
There are
tools. I
like,
don't.
yeah, measurement. I
Yeah,
was gonna
but
say,
as
but I
far as I
haven't
know,
heard like this piece sounds it sounds unique.
it is. As far as I know, yes, that's our tool. It's the only one that works that way. And of course, the other distinguishing factor is that it's just better. I'm kidding. I'm
Love
kidding.
it,
I'm
love
kidding.
it.
It's.
No,
I have
you're
to say
probably
that
not kidding. That's
it's my
okay. If it's yours, you should say
it's
that.
it's my baby. It is
Uh,
really good. It works terrifically. And of course, if anybody wants to know more, there's Heart Count. That's Heart the Muscle,
yep.
heartcount.com, where you can check it out.
Yeah, no, and I'll definitely share that. Okay. So
Add over.
yeah, add over. No, that was great. I want because
but
that comes up all the time.
yeah, and there was one other question that you asked, which is why should you measure happiness at work?
Right.
And that two reasons. First, three reasons actually. First of all, to show your company that you are taking this seriously, because anything that we take seriously inside an organization gets measured.
Yep.
Secondly, is to find problems, identify and fix problems. Um, and third, and I think this is the overlooked one, is to identify and spread best practices. So if you measure,
Yes.
yeah, right. And nobody does that.
Yep.
People are so, whenever they do any kind of survey in the organization, they're always focused on the trouble spots.
You're
But
right.
what
But
if what if
where
the
it's working. Great point.
yeah, what if the tech team is really happy? Let's figure out what they're doing right and spread that across the organization if we can.
Right. Right. I'm gonna have to quote you and spread that, especially number three. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, so important.
Yes. So my last question for you is, you know that I wrote a book earlier this year called Be a Happy Leader. And I
Yes.
talk about woohoo, and so much of what's in that book is what I learned from you and how you inspired me. So for many, many leaders themselves, they are exhausted, they are burnt out, they've been carrying so much over the past 2 years of personally and professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I always, my first step in Be a Happy Leader is start with you. You cannot expect to support others, inspire others, empower your team members, et cetera, if you yourself aren't well. So can you share some of your thoughts, maybe some of your personal habits on really starting with yourself and taking care of yourself, and knowing that you're speaking to leaders listening to this podcast?
Sure. But before I do that, let me just say that everybody's different. So I cannot tell anybody what to do. I can at most tell them what works for me. Um, and I think there's too much happiness advice out there is very prescriptive, like you gotta meditate, or you gotta have reflection periods, or you gotta eat macrobiotic foods or whatever. Okay. Um, I think that's a mistake because everybody's different. So I think the most important thing is that you start by taking your own happiness seriously. And that goes for everybody, leaders or employees or whatever. Just know that you can be happy at work. You deserve to be happy at work. And if you're not happy at work, that's not just something to accept. It's something you need to do something about. And whether you're a leader or an employee, there are sort of two ways to go about it. You can either fix the situation you're in now,
Mm-hmm.
or you can go find something better.
Mhm.
those are your options. Not an easy choice, but those are the options you have.
Yeah.
The only option you don't have is just, living with it,
Accepting it.
for
Yeah.
another, yeah, for another day, week, month, year. That would be bad. Don't do that.
Right.
Um, so take your situation seriously, and then figure out what makes you happy. And I would argue that a good starting point will always be look at your working hours. Are you working 60, 70 hours a week because you believe that's the way to success, or because you believe that's what the company asks of you, or you believe that's what's best for the company? Could you
Hmm.
cut that down to a regular, perfectly normal 40-hour work week and have more time for the rest of your life?
Hmm.
Um, there was a fascinating study by Harvard Business Review that looked at these overachievers, and found that a lot of the people who say they work 70 hours a week don't. They're lying.
Oh,
It's super, yeah,
interesting.
super interesting. So yeah.
There's this
Um,
perception. I think it's the Elon Musk effect because he says he sleeps 4 hours a night and I don't know.
yeah,
I feel like, well,
that
can't blame it all on Elon, but
no,
there's
that
like
guy.
there's like a glamour of like, oh, I don't
Yeah,
sleep.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, there is this overwork. I call it the cult of overwork.
Yes.
And they're out there actively recruiting new members. But
Right.
just like any other cult, it's a bad deal.
And the
Uh,
leaders aren't, yeah, always walking the talk of what they're, yeah.
Absolutely not. And yeah. So that's something I do. I do not work myself to death. I do not
Mhm.
believe that I would be any more successful in what I do if I worked 70 hours a week, or I work as much as I feel like, or as little as I feel like.
you just said something really, really valuable. And I want everyone listening, and, I want to, this is really important. You said, I don't believe I will be way more successful if I work 70 hours. And that is a really key piece. It's the
Hmm.
mindset about it,
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
the action. But knowing, yeah, you're doing 40, you're not going to be so much more successful if you do 30 more hours every week.
Yeah, and I should also add, it is, I said that before, it's not just a belief. This is backed up by the research. The research is
Yeah.
very clear. Overwork sucks in all kinds of ways, and it does not
Yeah.
make you any more productive. And then I think for me, figuring ways to enjoy both my work life and my private life, right, is super important. It's not enough to just work 40 hours a week. You need to be happy in those 40 hours, not necessarily every single hour. Again, that's impossible.
Yeah.
But so that you mostly enjoy what you do. And of course, our model that goes back to results and relationships. Are you proud of the work you do? Do you get good results? And do you like the people you work with?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then for the rest of your life, do you enjoy the rest of your life? Do you have time for, your hobbies, whatever they may be,
Mhm.
reading or movies, or, I took up swing dancing. It's amazing. Best hobby
Yes.
ever.
I mean, Alexander's an
Yes.
incredible dancer. Yes.
I'm learning. I'm getting pretty
No,
good.
you're really good. You're being
I'm proud of
modest.
that. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's find the things that give you joy in life, right? Doing something uh, for no appreciable benefit, but simply because you enjoy it, is amazing, and people should do it more. And I do feel like we live in an age where it's like everything should be monetized. If you have a
Mm.
hobby, turn it into a side gig. If you're good at
Ah,
something, find a way to
interesting.
professionalize it.
Like
Um,
monetize everything. And that's, yeah, the wrong advice. The wrong,
I,
yeah.
I really think it is, and just enjoying the hell out of something is an amazing, amazing thing, and you should have a lot of that in your life. And then I'll just mention one final thing that I just recently started doing, which is that I keep a gratitude journal.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've had one for years. Oh,
I,
yes.
and
It's
a lot of
so
people
little,
don't
but it's
have.
great.
Yeah, and I've been resisting it because I've thought for a long time that it sounded really simplistic. And then my podcast co-host, Katie, I have a podcast. Everybody has a podcast these days, right? She mentioned that she started doing one, and she was like, it's a good thing for her. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And it works. It's super
Mhm.
annoying, but it works. Yeah.
There's so much research on gratitude.
There
Yes.
is, and now I've seen it for myself. I have a notebook lying by my bed, and before I go,
Yeah.
when I go to bed, I'll fill out nice things from that day. Yeah,
Yeah.
these again, this is just some of the things I do that work for me. Exercise, super important for me.
Yes.
Might not be for you.
Yeah.
Cooking
No,
great
it is.
food.
I think it's a necessary.
For me, it is. I get really cranky
Me
if I
too.
can't work out for whatever reasons. Cooking really good food is one of my hobbies.
Hmm.
Not like fancy food, but like tasty food.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, it is about the core of it. Take your own happiness seriously at work and in
Hmm.
life, and then do the things that make you happy.
Hmm.
And of
Don't
course,
delay it. Don't settle. But yeah, take it as seriously as you take your career.
yes, and of course, the fundamental number one happiness advice is that the best way to be happy yourself is to make other people happy.
Yeah.
And the good news is that as a leader, you do have a lot more opportunities to make that happen because you can directly influence the lives of your employees.
Hmm.
And I do believe that the number one thing, the number one focus for good leaders is that they want their employees to be happy at work.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't think you should lead people if you don't like people. It's
Yes.
that simple.
Yes. I say the same. Well, you know, we're aligned. Oh, Alexander, I could talk to you all day, but we
Me
can't.
too.
So if people want to learn more about you, connect with you, where can they go?
There's always my blog at positivesharing.com. They are always welcome to find me on LinkedIn and connect there. Um, yeah, and of course, heartcount.com. Check it out and see if
Yes.
that could help your organization.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you for coming on the Arrive at Happy show. And I hope to see you virtually or in person soon.
Yes, we got to make that happen. It's been an absolute pleasure.